Michelle were close friends, is that right?
I considered her my sister.
When was the last time that you and Michelle actually spoke?
I don't know. I only remember seeing her at the meeting.
Back in December?
I think so, yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that she's missing?
I wish you guys would find her.
On Friday, May 27th, 2011, Michelle Lee was working a shift in the maternity ward at Kaiser Permanente Medical Center in Hayward, California. This was the final night of her internship at the hospital, the last step in a program she'd been working toward for years. Not long before 7 p.m, she told a fellow nurse she was heading to her car to retrieve some cold medication. Her white 2006 Honda CR-V was parked in the garage. Michelle walked out into the evening and vanished. When she failed to return, her supervisor and a security guard grew concerned. Together, they searched the garage. While there, they spotted a white SUV driving up the ramp. The vehicle stopped abruptly, reversed, then sped away out of the garage. It was Michelle's Honda, but the driver was not Michelle. It was her former friend, Giselle Esteban, behind the wheel. Michelle's Honda was later abandoned half a mile away at a condominium complex. At the hospital, police were called, and the first troubling clues appeared. Blood was found on the pavement where Michelle's car had been. Inside the hospital, her purse was left in a break room. Investigators knew right away they were not dealing with a routine disappearance. Using the Honda's anti-theft tracking system, police located the vehicle. More blood was found inside, along with an ID badge from Samuel Merritt University. It did not belong to Michelle, it was one Giselle had stolen. Friends of Michelle told investigators that if there was anyone who might wish her harm, it was Giselle Esteban. They explained that the two women had once been close, but their friendship had unraveled. Now, they were enemies. On May 28th, just before midnight, police spoke to Giselle. She admitted being at the hospital the night before, but claimed it was for a routine reason. She said she was pregnant and wanted to talk to staff about medical coverage. She even volunteered that she had seen Michelle walking toward the garage, but insisted it was coincidence and that she never spoke to her. When asked about her relationship with Michelle, her answers were bitter and contradictory. She claimed Scott Arasigan, her ex-boyfriend and the father of her child, had slept with Michelle. She blamed Michelle for destroying her relationship. At one point she said, "I don't know who she is anymore."
What do you think is going on with her?
I don't know. I don't know who she is anymore.
But as far as you know, this would be very unusual for her, right? To have just gone missing?
I don't know. I don't know Michelle anymore. I stopped knowing her a long time ago.
When detectives asked if she might have argued with Michelle that night, Giselle faltered. I don't recall. If I did, I would tell you. The story of Michelle and Giselle began years earlier. Giselle Esteban was born on February 4th, 1984, in Union City, California. She was raised in San Diego, the daughter of a Filipino family. Michelle Lair was born just months later, on October the 12th, 1984, also in San Diego, to a Vietnamese family. In high school, the two young women met and became friends. Michelle was outgoing, with a wide circle of interests and connections. Giselle was quieter, more withdrawn, a loner. They seemed mismatched, but they bonded. Some believe Michelle may have been Giselle's only real friend. Both shared a dream of becoming nurses. In the spring of 2003, they moved to the San Francisco Bay Area to pursue their college studies. Their paths soon diverged, but their lives remained entangled. Michelle briefly dated a fellow student named Scott Arasigan. After the romance ended, the two remained friends. Later that year, Giselle began dating Scott herself. The relationship lasted until 2005. After their breakup, Giselle discovered she was pregnant. In October 2005, she and Scott welcomed a daughter. They attempted to reconcile and live together for 3 years. During that time, Giselle dropped out of school and took a job at a daycare centre, while Scott pursued his own career. By 2008, the relationship was over for good. Custody of their daughter became a battleground. Scott eventually won 80% custody, a decision that devastated Giselle. Their relationship remained volatile, though they sometimes resumed physical intimacy, which Scott later described as backsliding. Scott also revealed later that Giselle had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and that he eventually filed a restraining order against her. While Giselle's life was unravelling, Michelle's was on the rise. She graduated with her bachelor's degree and pursued nursing at Samuel Merritt University in Oakland. She was a full-time student while also working part-time as an accountant. From Giselle's perspective, Michelle embodied everything she no longer had: stability, opportunity, progress. Her resentment grew into something darker. On May 26, 2011, the day before Michelle disappeared, Giselle visited Samuel Merritt University, even though she was no longer a student there. She told a secretary she had an appointment with a counsellor. While the secretary stepped away, Giselle stole an ID badge belonging to an employee who had not yet started work. That same day, she tested the badge at 8:40 a.m. Later, between 5:11 p.m. and 7:11 p.m, she used it again in various locations around campus. She was attempting to access Michelle's schedule. Her efforts did not stop there. Giselle contacted a friend of Michelle's, fishing for her address. She called Samuel Merritt, disguising her voice as Jamie, and tried unsuccessfully to obtain Michelle's phone number. She also called Kaiser Permanente in Hayward on May 26th and 27th, attempting to find out when Michelle would be working. Every move pointed to planning. After Michelle disappeared, technology filled in the blanks. Her phone had travelled from the Kaiser garage to a rural area outside Hayward before returning near where her SUV was abandoned. Giselle's phone, meanwhile, had been in the hospital garage for 4 hours on May 27th. Investigators uncovered damning physical evidence. Giselle's DNA was found on the turn signal stock of Michelle's Honda. Michelle's blood was discovered on Giselle's shoes. The picture was clear. Giselle had lured Michelle to the garage, attacked her, likely with a knife, and killed her. Afterward, Giselle used Michelle's phone to call the hospital, posing as her, and claimed she would not be returning to her shift. But the call was placed to the emergency room, not the maternity ward, so the message never reached Michelle's supervisor. Giselle disposed of the body in a rural area about 15 miles from Hayward, before attempting to sneak Michelle's Honda back into the garage. Spotted by hospital staff, she fled and abandoned the vehicle elsewhere. On September 7th, 2011, police arrested Giselle Esteban for Michelle Lee's murder. At that point, Michelle's body had not been found. 10 days later, searchers discovered her remains. Giselle's trial began in October 2012. Her defense admitted she killed Michelle but argued for a manslaughter conviction instead of murder. They claimed her mental illness and her decision to stop taking medication explained her actions. The jury rejected this. Giselle Esteban was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Her earliest chance at release will come in 2029, when she'll be 45 years old. Realistically, in California, parole in cases like hers is rarely granted. The story of Giselle and Michelle began as an unlikely friendship between two young women with the same dream. It ended with one of them betrayed, murdered, and buried in a shallow grave, and the other condemned to spend the rest of her life behind bars. Giselle and Michelle began as two young women with similar dreams, yet jealousy, resentment, and unhealed wounds turned that connection into something lethal.
I asked you, can we just be honest about Michelle, because she's the one issue that I really, really am having a hard time dealing with.
That's not what you said at all.
Yes! Okay,
we
well
didn't
then
talk for
fine.
days.
Starting from now, we are going to be honest about Michelle. Do you understand me? Whether you sleep with her, whether you share food with her, whether you talk to her, you will be honest with me. Look at me! You will be honest with me regarding her. Otherwise, I will take your life and hers.
Mom.
And you can take that to the grave with you.
Why?
Why? Because you lied about her so many times, it's hard to believe that you didn't sleep with her and lock her up. You deserve to die for your lies, as does she, and you will. If you do it again, this is your last and final warning.
Why?
Do you understand me? It's your last and final warning.
It is unsettling to realise how much planning and determination went into the crime, and how many warning signs pointed to a spiral long before the tragedy occurred. In the end, one life was cut short and another was wasted, leaving behind only grief and unanswered questions. It makes me reflect on how important it is to recognise toxic dynamics, to set boundaries, and to seek help before anger hardens into something irreversible.